guys. I wanted to talk about a little bit about the different phases of my personal awakening journey. So I want to just like go way back to probably I would say when I was like still in my 20s, which is a long time ago. And it started with religion. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I was a very, very religious, born again Christian. I was raised that way, and was really my whole life. And I was even like super passionate about telling everybody about it and all that stuff. So I was very into it. I was very involved in my church, whatever church I belonged to at the time. And yeah, so anyway, I started to start to see through some of the inconsistencies. And whenever I would ask my current pastor about it, I would get all kinds of different answers. And I started thinking, well, if these people don't know, then who knows, who knows what the truth is. And so that was sort of the beginning of what I would say was my truth journey. And I started to question things. My family did not like that at all. And I think that was the beginning of starting to create like some of that distance between some family members, your spouse and your friends. So about the time when I was like in my late 30s, I really just questioned the whole religion to the point where I realized I didn't believe it anymore. And nothing against any of you guys if you guys are Christian or anything, but my personal journey involved leaving Christianity and eventually starting to study other religions. And one of those religions, the main one, was Judaism. So I started looking into that, and I found a lot of truth in what the Christians call the Old Testament. And so for me personally, like that was just something that I explored very deeply to the point where I actually found a rabbi up in the middle of Maine, in the middle of nowhere, and proceeded to pursue an Orthodox Jewish conversion, which turned out to be somewhat of a nightmare after a while, because I got involved in a relationship with somebody who was very religious and was sort of religious on the outside, and then that turned out to be a whole disaster, right? So we're not going to get into all of that, but just suffice it to say that I explored other religions as part of my awakening journey. And so that kind of ultimately led to down the road to, so I got divorced in 2010. And then for a while, things quieted down. I was living my life and, trying to just basically adjust to the whole divorce process, which is like very traumatizing, right? If any of you guys have ever been through a divorce, it completely changes your life. And that consumed all of my energy for quite some time. But during this time, I was just surviving, I would say. And then I would say right around the next big thing that happened for me was the whole thing that happened in 2020. As you guys know, that was a big eye-opener, and I was petrified when that supposed disease first came out, the big C. I was working in a hospital, and I was told that it was super contagious and you were going to die, and you had to go home and strip your clothes off and throw them in the wash. And I was just petrified. And we know what happens when you get filled with fear. It controls you. It completely controls you. And that's exactly what the controllers want, is they want people filled with fear, right? As I've subsequently learned over the years. But at that time, I was scared, just like everybody else. So for the first, I would say, few weeks of it, and then I talked to my sister, who I didn't even realize was already way ahead of the game in the truth journey. And thank God I did, because I was signed up to take the old jibby jab, and I was ready to be first in line to get it, because I was a healthcare worker. Right before I did, I canceled my appointment because, as a nurse, I also see through a lot of stuff, and I hate going to the doctor. So I canceled it, and I was going to put it off another couple days. Ended up talking to my sister, and she was like, no, don't do it, don't get it, it's not good. And I saw people like dropping dead and all this stuff. So I started to look online, and I started to see that maybe it wasn't going to be such a good idea. Thank God I did. and I never took it. So yay for all of us who never succumbed to the jibby jab. Yeah, so that was in 2020. And they were like, you're gonna lose your job if you don't get it. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I don't think they're gonna go there. And I was right, it never happened. A lot of people quit their jobs. They were, running to find hospitals that wouldn't require them to take the injection, and left their jobs. Ultimately, those new jobs they got was requiring them to get the shot too. So people drove themselves crazy, and that was the beginning of it. And then I would say around a couple years later, as they kept finding new strains and new forms of this and new reasons for people to take more shots. Like, I had people that were on the 4th, 5th shot, okay? So this is what the fear was doing to people still, years later, 2 years later. The next big thing for me, okay, I would say the next phase was so I was always like into like ghost stories and like aliens, and I loved all that stuff. When you're watching some of that stuff online, it sort of takes you to other places, and like somehow I found the stuff about the old world. I don't know if you guys have heard of the old world, but if you're into this journey, you probably have. And you probably know that by now that most of our history is a lie. And I'll try to plug in some photos here of like some of the old buildings that exist in our country and really all over the world. World's fairs, repopulation programs. I started to look into that. The Cabbage Patch Kids, have you guys heard about that? Where they were like repopulating. There was some kind of a reset that probably happened around late 1700s, early 1800s. I don't know if anybody knows the exact time, but we see clear evidence of a reset, okay? And then even before that reset, there was probably an earlier reset where stuff was melted by some kind of, you can see like there's channels about meltology. Okay guys, go look it up if you haven't. It's super fascinating, if nothing else. Look up about the old world. There's some great channels out there. The one I listen to a lot is called My Lunch Break. There's another channel called John Levi, and he's written a book. He's got tons of videos out there going back years about this stuff. It is out there. The evidence is all over, and I couldn't believe that I never saw it before. I never noticed that all these old buildings made of marble and stone were built in the era of horse and buggy. Like, how does that happen? It's just not realistic, okay? Yeah, so look into the old world. From there, I saw a lot of other conspiracies, okay? And I started to see through a lot of the psyops that were going on. Even today, stopped watching the news, okay? Because I was realizing like most of the stuff is fake. These guys are all on the same team, left, right, up, down, governments. They all agree that nobody can explore, like let's say for example, they all agree that everybody needs to get the jibby jab, and that nobody can explore beyond, I think it's 80 degrees south, maybe even be 60 degrees south, I'm not sure. But nobody can explore Antarctica. So I started looking into Antarctica, and I came across a very interesting video. Go watch it if you get the chance to look up. Roseanne Barr did an interview with David Weiss, also known as Flat Earth Dave. And in this video, he was supposed to be talking about Antarctica. That was the title, so I started watching it. And that opened the door for me to question the shape of the place where we live. So I don't want to get banned from YouTube, so I'm not going to say it. But y'all know what I'm talking about, okay? This place is not what we have been told, okay? So look into it, the shape of this place. And there's so much evidence. So that led me to basically watching every single video that David Weiss ever made. So go look him up, flatearthdave.com. He's got a great app. I bought it, and I bought the version where it's like $11 a year or something. It's awesome. And then since 2022, I basically realized that it's not just that some things aren't true, it's pretty much everything. Everything we've been told about our history, about where we came from. And that led me to being more of like on a spiritual side. So, I watched all of David Weiss's videos. And then a few months back, maybe 6 months ago, he had on someone named Darius J. Wright, and he interviewed him, talking a lot about the soul and how he saw things out of his body that convinced him that, yeah, this place we live, like, he's like, Dave, you're right, this place is a level plane, it's a toroidal field that we live inside of, just like our body is a toroidal field. And that got me interested in starting to learn about these out-of-body experiences, because the best way to see truth is to see it for yourself, not so much through the eyes of other people, right? Go see it for yourself. Learn about the out-of-body experience, guys. Learn about how to do it. You can find it all on Darius Wright's channel. There's other great people as well that have gone through his program and then since then created their own channels and tell you how to do it. So anyway, I just wanted to share my journey with you guys, and if that resonates with you, leave me some comments. Tell me about your own journey, and I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to interview you. Let's get you on the channel, and let's share our journeys together, and let's wake everybody else up.